spawn onto the breach, dear friends, once more!
Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier is kind of an odd game, and an anomalous outlier within the series it resides in. The game's tone is whimsical and lighthearted, making it more similar to the first game than the sequels, and its gameplay is stiffer and harder to deal with than any of its predecessors. Its setting is very far removed from the universe we'd come to love, and its returning characters are all shells of their former selves, except for arguably Daxter. Then, of course, the narrative is so deeply trope-ridden and cliche that I feel like it became the exact kind of game that the latter games in the series seemingly tried to rage against. All of the edge and angst has been siphoned out to leave us with a title that both looks and feels unmistakably like a Jak and Daxter game, but without any of the bite or charm that made those previous games stand out. And of course, it was also late to the party, coming out over 4 years after the last entry in the franchise had released, dropping on both the Sony PSP and PS2 in November of 2009. The Lost Frontier went on to be the worst performing game of the series, selling just a little over 600,000 copies in total, which might sound like a lot, but that was actually really low numbers for a Jak and Daxter game, especially considering Daxter had sold over 2.3 million on its release as a PSP exclusive. There's probably a lot of reasons why it didn't sell like the previous games did, but the point is that this was by far the least purchased and least played game of the series, and as such, it's remained a bit of an enigma to a lot of players. Honestly, there's probably a few of you out there even asking, what is Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier?
This is amazing!
What? Let me see.
The Lost Frontier entered development under the working title of Jak PSP shortly after Jak X Combat Racing wrapped up its development, and was being developed simultaneously with Naughty Dog's new PlayStation 3 game, Uncharted: Drake's Fortune. Don't worry, we'll get there. The team at Naughty Dog was able to develop multiple cutscenes, some concept art, and even lay down a good bit of their gameplay ideas before the sheer magnitude of Uncharted's scale and the complications of making games for Sony's new PS3 hardware simply overpowered the developer, and they chose to shelf The Lost Frontier after roughly 3 solid months of development, so they could shift all hands to focusing on their new IP. After that, the game would remain on the shelf for a few years before Naughty Dog finally handed it off to another studio to finish it, called High Impact Games. High Impact announced their helming of the new title on April 1st in 2009, although it wasn't an April Fool's joke, and they went on to finally release the game in November of that same year.
Everyone, cross your fingers.
You know, I've never been able to do that.
The Lost Frontier plays really similarly to most of the other games in the series, with a back and forth between level-based action platforming sections and vehicle sections, only this time all of our vehicles are sky-based, such as airplanes or jet fighters. Gone are the zoomers, leaper lizards, buggies, and cars. It's all sky combat now. Also gone is Jak's iconic morph gun, now being replaced with a gun staff, for some reason. It functions literally the exact same as the morph gun and features 4 weapon types just like the base morph gun from Jak 2. It just looks different visually. It's a different shape, and it even looks way less cool. What was the point of this? I guess they wanted to replace the morph gun so players didn't miss all of the weapon mods from Jak 3 since they're resetting us back to just 4, but I do not like the visual design of this gun staff at all. Granted, that's just my opinion though. The melee combat is about the same as it's always been, but with a few available upgrades that actually are kind of cool. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I gotta say they really missed an opportunity to give Jak a sword as a melee weapon here. I say that because this game brings with it a brand new theme and aesthetic in the form of Sky Pirates.
My Duke! Sky Pirates!
Now, this is a very niche kind of setting that I've only seen a few times across media, but that I assume probably made a few very specific kinds of people very happy, because this game really goes all in on the whole sky pirate thing. Our main hub that we spend the most time in is a literal pirate ship, but in the air. We visit a pirate alcove repeatedly and get into tavern fights. The big antagonist faction are a kind of empire-like colony with bigger and better ships. There's a town assault scene. I mean, the main villain's name is Duke Skyheed. Duke Skyheed. I mean, look at this. We even get a pirate ship battle where the 2 ships are parallel to each other, exchanging cannon fire and sending across boarding parties. If it wasn't for the character names, eco powers, and the odd precursor element here and there, you wouldn't even know this was a Jak and Daxter game. I mean, it's cool, I guess. I tried to just allow myself to get into it for what it was, and once you can relax and embrace the whole Sky Pirate thing, then it is actually pretty cool. I mean, when I said they went all in on this pirate theme, I meant it. Although the place where the game really falls the most flat is on its story. As always, this is your warning that spoilers are ahead, as I'll be going over the entire game's plotline. But before we get into that, I want to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manta Sleep. Me being someone who stares at screens all day, it is incredibly important to me to try to protect my circadian rhythm, and with the way that I like lifting weights and trying to maintain a relatively healthy morning routine, sleep is so crucial. After all, our muscle growth and recovery all takes place during sleep. And if you're as into video games as I am, then you might have a desktop with RGB lighting that glows even when the thing is off. So in order to try to protect my sleep, I was actually already using a sleep mask, but it was just a cheap piece of fabric, and when Manta Sleep reached out, I let them know you picked the right creator because I was thrilled about the opportunity to try out some of these products. So they ended up sending both me and my girlfriend a Manta Sleep Mask Silk, and it is incredible. Whenever I put this thing on in bed, I'm conked out within a few minutes. It blocks out the light, it is incredibly comfortable, and the fact that it's made out of silk means you can rest assured that you're pressing safe material to your eyes, not polyester or some other kind of microplastic fabric. And they have an eclectic selection of different sleep masks available on their website depending on what you're looking for to help you sleep, like a weighted mask or a mask with built-in Bluetooth speakers for white noise or whatever helps you sleep, all kinds of great choices. And they also have a selection of different eye cups that you can use to customize your mask depending on what you need, like cooling eye cups or heating eye cups. I'm being so genuine with you guys. The quality of these Manta Sleep sleep masks is the kind of thing that you don't even know you need until you have it. My girlfriend loves hers and I now swear by mine, so make sure you check out the link in the pinned comment, look at their website, and see what works for you. With these summer days getting longer, sometimes a good nap can be essential to optimizing your output throughout a given day, and the pro nap movement makers at Manta Sleep make this possible with these high-quality sleep masks. Using the links in the description or pinned comment, you can punch in the code EvanPrince for 10% off your next order and start sleeping and recovering better than ever. Thanks again to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it.
Okay, fine. We'll go on another adventure.
Now, this game was received moderately well on release, with its main points of criticism being directed at the camera being screwy, which is true at some points, and the Dark Daxter sections, which I think are totally fine, but we're getting there. Somehow or another, the single weakest part of the game managed to get out of criticism unscathed. Now, this is clearly a game aimed more towards younger audiences than the last few entries were, and so with that in mind, I'm sure it gets a lot of leeway, given you wouldn't really take super seriously the narrative of a children's video game. But here on this channel, I take the narrative of children's video games super seriously, so buckle up, because we're going in.
Dax, get on the gun.
Aye, aye, sir.
The story opens on Jak, Dax, and Kira flying in on a plane to find the brink of the world in search of more eco as the supply of it has seemingly dried up and the eco vents are no longer flowing. As they're flying, a group of sky pirates comes in to attack them as they board the plane and attempt to requisition our heroes of their eco. Kira informs the rogue that they have no eco, as no one has eco anymore. The pirate then has a brief conversation with them about how the lack of eco is why the world is tearing itself apart. Jak tries to tell him that they're going to try and find the problem and get the eco flowing again, but the pirate mocks him as the last of the heroes before telling him it's every man for himself. Then he tries to kidnap Kira. The two then begin fighting on top of the plane, and it's actually kind of cool, I'll be honest.
Jak! Eco is too unstable!
You're one of them.
Oopsie daisy.
What happened?
Those crazy pirates must have shot us. Yeah, that's what happened.
Like it or not, we're going down. We've run out of eco.
Worse than that, we've run out of world!
The brink.
With that, our heroes touch down so Kira can repair the plane as Jak and Dax go out to investigate the area in the game's first mission. So there's a few things that I actually really like about this opening. Dax, in this setup, and really across the whole game, has retained his bravery that he found in the last few games. He's still funny, but he's no longer fearful, which I love. Keeping characters feeling like themselves without losing the arcs they went through is a huge plus in sequels for me. The idea of the brink being the edge of the world where the precursors had simply stopped building is also an incredibly cool idea for a location. The design of the waterfalls pouring off into nothing, and the floating islands. Honestly, this game really does feature some of the coolest world design of the series. Every location is cool, except that if this is the edge of the planet, does that mean this planet is actually flat?
Dude, that's completely flat. That's 100% flat,
I know, that's
dude.
what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
After getting the plane back up and running, a massive ship called the Behemoth radios out for help as they've come under attack by sky pirates, and Jak comes in to help by blowing several dozen sky pirate ships out of the sky.
Do a barrel roll! Try a somersault! Anything!
After assisting the ship, Jak docks in the hangar bay and is thanked by a man identifying himself as Duke Skyheed, the leader of the Auropan people. Skyheed thanks our heroes for assisting them and claims that the pirates have increased their attacks on the Auropans ever since Skyheed had prioritized locating the so-called Ecoseeker, a mythical source from which the entire planet's eco flows. Kira almost reveals that they themselves are searching for a way to restore the planet's eco, but Jak stops her as he wants to play things a little closer to the chest here. The group is then taken to Auropa itself, the city where the Auropans live, and we're free to wander around this little hub. I actually really like the design of this city visually speaking. It feels so new and mystical and reinforces that feeling of being in some far-off new place in an incredible adventure. Although the area itself is pretty small and there's not much to do or see. Because it's freely explorable and they'd put so much effort into it, I really figured I'd be coming back here more than once across the game's plot, but that doesn't happen. This is the only time you have to come here until the very end of the game, and then it's not even the same hub, so this was the only time I really saw this location. I feel like this was a huge missed opportunity too, because not only do they have such a neat little hub area here that they could have done a lot more with, but it's also easily the most visually unique of the hubs we get, and the one we visit the least. But it does have a lot of these little challenges for you to do, and you can technically come back here whenever you want on your own, but there's just no reason to do so for the story, so I didn't. Jak, Dax, and Kira link back up with Skyheed, who is now joined by Chancellor Ruskin. This Chancellor is immediately very suspicious of Jak. They ask why the trio has come to the brink, to which the trio reveals their mission to find a new source of eco. Skyheed reveals that they possess a precursor artifact called an Ecoseeker that could lead them to the location of the mythical eco core if they could make it work. But they can't, and they are hoping that Jak might be able to, given they have heard of him before. Apparently, tales of Jak's adventures and his dark and light powers have traveled from Haven in Crass City all the way to Auropa, and so Skyheed hopes perhaps he can make it work.
I can't do it. Too much power. Darkness everywhere.
If you don't mind, I'd like to study. You see, I'm training to become an eco-sage.
Very well. I will grant your request on one condition. That you prove to us you can protect the Seeker Orb at all costs. Agreed?
Agreed.
So there's two subplots I should touch on really quickly here. The first and more important of the two being that Kira has decided she wants to become an eco-sage, which is paying off a promise made all the way back at the end of the first game in this line here.
And Kira, without your help and ingenuity, none of this would have been possible. Perhaps we've found another sage, now that Gaul and Maya are lost.
Yeah, when I said this game really feels like more of a sequel to the first game than the other ones, I meant it. Kira's quest to become a green eco-sage is a prominent subplot across the game's runtime. The other subplot is Jak's inability to transform into Dark Jak. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil this subplot now actually because it sucks. Jak can no longer transform because his dark eco form is too unstable. And that's pretty much it. We don't ever learn why it's unstable, nor does he ever resolve this. It's just kind of thrown out there, brought up once or twice, and that's it. Also, his light Jak form is just gone. We don't even hear about that. The game kind of implies that the lack of eco in the world and the eco core's instability is the reason his dark form won't work, but this doesn't make any sense at all because we use all of the other colored eco powers and there's tons of other dark eco transformations in the game. The devs clearly just wanted to bring back the colored eco powers and ditch the light and dark ones, so this was their excuse. It's weak if you ask me. Speaking of dark eco transformations, as Jak and Dax are wandering through the city streets of Auropa, Daxter accidentally trips and falls through a sewer grate where he finds himself doused in a wave of dark eco.
Ah! Give me nut water!
this transforms Daxter into Dark Daxter, which gives us a series of brand new sections unique to this game that I'll talk more about the gameplay of later, but right now I just want to talk about the story implications of this. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but the Dark Daxter subplot also pays off a throwaway line from Jak 3.
Don't touch it, Daxter. Who knows what more Dark Ego would do to you?
Well, now we see what it does, and it turns him into a big monster. The importance of Dark Eco comes up a ton throughout this game and is directly related to the main plot, but Daxter himself turning into Dark Daxter doesn't really matter to the story beyond just being a fun subplot. That said, I actually really liked it, personally. I think it's cool to see Dax all roided out and smashing things. I loved this, even though a lot of other people apparently really didn't. But it also further weakens that stupid idea that Jak can't transform because of the eco instability in the planet's eco core, because here's Daxter raging around in his Dark Eco form no problem. I wasn't kidding when I said this game's story was its weak point. All of these games have featured plot holes and inconsistencies, but it's only ever been inexcusably egregious in this one. Once Daxter finds an elevator back up, he reunites with Jak and Kira as they meet with Skyheed and Ruskin to be given the Ecoseeker.
Hey, Jak. You won't believe what just happened to me.
Dax, not now.
You have proven yourselves truly worthy. As our ancestors warned us, Dark Eco is a dangerous weapon not to be trifled with. I hope with this, you can find the more fair Light Eco.
My Duke! Sky Pirates!
Hey!
Thank you all for your kind assistance. Kira, no! Kira! I'm going after them. Come on, Dax!
Well, Kira's been kidnapped, and that pirate has the Ecoseeker, so Jak springs into action to catch them, which leads us into a climactic chase through the inside of a volcano as Jak pursues the pirate leader. This section had the potential to be infuriating, but luckily, the vehicle controls are tight enough that it was actually just fun, so I am thrilled to tell you that this sequence is actually pretty good. Once we make it through the volcano core, Jak flies right into a trap where the pirate claims he's showing Jak mercy by having his squad take out Jak's engine so he has a chance to crash land and survive. And so crash he does, which strands Jak and Daxter on an island. While exploring this island, Jak finds an old precursor totem that grants him one of his eco powers back, but instead of his dark and light eco powers from Jak's 2 and 3, he now has eco powers related to the colored ecos, similar to the precursor legacy. This first ability he's given is called the Eco Amplifier, and it fires out a ball of red eco that can then be shot to rupture and create an explosive shockwave. It can be used to attack enemies or destroy certain destructible elements in the environment, which I do think is cool, but also way less cool than his Dark Strike power from Jak 3. The primary enemies on this island are a series of rogue robots and machines that are taming the flora across the landscape. They seem to be very hostile towards anything living, and as such, force Jak and Daxter to take them all out. While searching the island, our duo of heroes stumble upon a large tree house of sorts, and we are shortly thereafter greeted by a quirky old man.
Just as I thought. You have been touched by the darkness.
Oh, how did you...
I know Dark Eco when I see it, son. And I could see that you saw what I saw when I said I saw it.
Huh. Okay.
Jak asks the old man if he knows anything about the robots currently overwhelming the island, to which the old man reveals that he made them all to help him before they suddenly turned against him. He also reveals he doesn't know who he is or how he ended up stranded on the island in the first place, just that he's been trying to survive down here for a while now.
Well, if you're good with mechanics, I mean, my ship could really...
Listen, son, I took a look at that ship of yours. The fusion rods are shot to Shiloh without a little juice. Well, you're stuck here with me.
Oh, please tell me you can fix the plane.
The old man tells Jak that if he can acquire a Volonium battery from a massive rogue robot somewhere on the island, then he can repair his ship for him, and so Jak agrees and sets out to find that robot. While he's doing that, I need to talk about Jak's characterization in this game, and now is a great time to do so. I've already brought up how much I dislike the direction they took Jak here earlier, but it's just so not Jak. The biggest change is obviously the massive difference in his voice. Like, you can clearly tell just by listening that this isn't the same character, but You know, scheduling conflicts and other things can make it difficult for developers sometimes, so they have to make do. The voice of Jak across the series up to this point, and technically after if you count PlayStation All-Stars, has been handled by Mike Irwin, who lent a gravelly, jaded, matured interpretation to the character's voice. Handling the helm this time is notable voice actor Josh Keaton, who is a fantastic voice actor in his own right, and actually handled the voice of Peter Parker / Spider-Man in what is arguably the best adaptation of the character we'll ever get, The Spectacular Spider-Man. He is easily my favorite VA for Spider-Man 2, by the way. Here's the problem, though. I don't think the studio gave Keaton very good direction here, because he's not even trying to emulate Jak's voice from the previous games at all. He's just doing his regular voice, and winds up making Jak sound more like a Spider-Man-like hero than the dark hero he really is. And the reason I blame the studio for this is because it's not just the voice that's the problem. It's Jak himself. This is not how Jak acts. I don't really know another way to put it, but this Jak acts like a generic hero template dropped into the place where the real Jak should be. For reference, let's look at a few lines from Jak across the series.
I'm gonna kill Praxis! You look like a reasonably smart man. I want information.
Your men should be able to take care of themselves, but I wouldn't mind taking out a few cruisers if that's what you're getting at.
You need to work on making a better first impression. Yeah, we thought we'd hang out, catch some rays. I'm through saving the world. Dark, dirty, dangerous. I'm beginning to like this war. Yeah, right into the hornet's nest. This is gonna be fun.
Well, if you're good with mechanics, I mean...
Now, you could argue that after the climactic events of Jak 3, he relaxed a little bit and became more heroic and less dark. Except we saw in Jak X that while he did mellow out a little bit more, he was absolutely still mad edgy.
Tell you the truth, I'm probably dead already. But that doesn't mean I can't take a few scumbags with me. The death threats and bounties don't bother us. We're not afraid to die. If you're listening, Mizo, your days are numbered. We'll win, or we'll die trying.
Well, if you're good with mechanics, I mean...
Yeah, nah. Jak's growing up having killed hundreds of living things and people has only made him colder.
You get used to it.
The point is that they character assassinated our dark hero, and the generic stand-in we get in this game is a massive disappointment. Anyway, back to the story. With the old man having repaired Jak's ship, the two track down the pirate's sky galleon and shoot out the ship's engines to stop them in their tracks. Once the vessel can no longer travel, the pirate captain becomes impressed with Jak's determination and graciously invites Jak and Daxter on board while commanding his crew to stand down. After boarding the ship, Jak marches straight to the bridge to confront the rogue and rescue Kira, only to get gut punched. Literally.
Kira, are you alright?
Phoenix, don't!
Phoenix? What, you're on a first-name basis now?
You shouldn't have come here.
On the contrary, now this monster has a chance to see what he truly is. And this little orb will show us the way.
No! Both of you! Stop! We have to go get it back. And I want a truce between you two until we do. A truce. Now! Shake on it. Now, let's go get back the only hope we have.
Yeah, this isn't anything like the Kira we know either, as I cannot fathom her not taking Jak's side intensely and immediately after all they've been through together at this point. But she cold shoulders him to be ambiguously romantic with Captain Phoenix here for pretty much the entire game. It's really weird. The two end up racing one another in a bid to find the Ecoseeker before the other, and Jak winds up being granted the yellow eco power of Iron Man jet thrusters. I liked this idea, but it felt like a way worse version of the Eco Flight from Jak 3, making it the second weaker variation of a cool power we'd gotten in a previous game. Oh yeah, and because I forgot to talk about it earlier, the green eco power allows Jak to summon massive crystal structures for platforming purposes, and a few select combat occasions. I liked this one actually, and it is admittedly pretty unique. Jak, of course, beats Phoenix to the Seeker and claims victory in the race. Upon hopping back into their plane, they discover that the old man they'd met in the woods has stowed away on their ship and used them to get off the island, so they agree to take him to the pirate vessel with them. Upon seeing the man, however, Phoenix seems to be wary of him.
Anyway, he seems pretty good with mechanics, and I think he could help us.
Do you know who you are, old man?
Nope.
The old man asks to see the device that they believe he may be able to help them with, and after examining it, tosses it behind him before claiming that the Ecoseeker is trouble waiting to happen and that he's been trying to avoid that kind of trouble for a while. Saying this sparks a few vague memories of him inside of a warehouse somewhere filled with enormous vats of dark eco. After a little more pushing, Kira manages to charm the old man into unlocking the device for them as he warns them that he'll do it for her, but that he still thinks it's trouble. The Ecoseeker seems to be low on energy though and is pointing them over the brink into some very dangerous territory, and so the gang all decides together to load up on supplies and prepare to face the danger head on.
Set us on a heading for Far Drop. We'll need supplies for the long voyage. Once again, dear friends, into the breach.
So let's talk a little bit about the Phantom Blade, that being the big pirate vessel belonging to Captain Phoenix and his crew. This will actually act as the primary hub that we'll be revisiting the most throughout the game, as Jak, Dax, and Kira are now allied with the Sky Pirates. It's a very small hub consisting of 4 rooms and 1 exterior area that only matters one time later in the story. The bridge is where the captain and steering wheel is, and then the back room is where we can always find Kira to handle our upgrades for us. I'll talk more about that later. There's the big open main area where all of the crew hang out and walk around, and then lastly the hangar bay where we store our various planes as we get them, and also where we can upgrade and customize each plane. I'll talk more about that later too. Arriving at the location called Far Drop, Phoenix tells Jak that he'll need to be the one who goes down and gets the supplies from their contact, as both he and the crew will need to remain aboard to fix the engines and damage Jak caused earlier. Pulling into the city of Far Drop, I have to say that the visual design is once again breathtaking. Built in an enormous alcove, we see hundreds of buildings all over the place, with many of them built to hang from the ceiling itself. This is not only really cool, but also very in line with the whole pirate vibe this game seems so desperate to capture. At least I can say they very much succeeded in pulling it off. After touching down and entering the small pirate town, the duo is greeted by an old lurker named Barter, who notices how capable they appear and offers them all of the supplies they need for the Phantom Blade in exchange for Jak and Dax killing a horde of dark eco-infected mutants who have been rampaging across the city and destroying things. I really like the following level where we fight through various parts of Far Drop to kill these mutants and protect barter shops and goods, but for some reason the camera in this stage and in a later stage here in Far Drop is where it freaks out the most. I'm not sure why, but the camera doesn't handle this specific location very well. I'd be willing to bet this was also the source of a lot of the game's camera related criticisms. This is also where Jak gets his time stop ability back, and it's literally the exact same as it was in Jak 3, except now it's associated with blue eco instead of light eco. I did end up using it a lot more in this game than in Jak 3 though, as they put more platforming bits that needed it, and it was just useful for combat overall. There was also one particular physics-based platforming section in this level that was so insanely stupid hard for no reason. I spent so long trying to make this work, and I don't know why they put this here. It sucks. Even if it is a skill issue, this is just obnoxious platforming level design. Eventually, once all of that is handled, Jak and Dax wander into Barter's tavern, where he tells them that he's already loaded up all of the supplies they need and offers him a little something extra if he'll liven up the crowd by starting a bar fight.
I could use some exercise.
Hey, knock it off, you big bully! That's it! It's go time, baby! Oops. He did it.
And so our boys wipe the floor with the patrons of the tavern. We can't use our weapons here, by the way, so it's all melee attacks, which makes it super silly that they didn't program Jak to put his staff away ever. Jak 2 and 3 would have Jak put his weapon away when he wasn't using it, but this game never does, and it looks mad silly in scenes like this where he's literally told to put the gun away, but it just disables the gun and he keeps holding it. I just think it's funny that he runs around holding this thing at literally all times. Also, you can come back here and start a brawl whenever you want to grind out some parts for customizing your planes, and even donate parts to build up the town, although this feels like a half-baked mechanic that was supposed to be bigger, and I forgot about it after this one interaction. Back on the Phantom Blade, Phoenix tells Jak that he's now an honorary pirate thanks to his contributions and their new alliance.
As a special member of this crew, you are now my official helmsman. Feel free to enter coordinates and steer the ship as you see fit.
Sorry to rain on the celebration, but I've got some bad news. The Ecoseeker doesn't seem to have enough light eco to operate.
Then we're in luck. I know of an old research station used by the Auropans. It's abandoned now, but we did pick up some faint readings for light eco there long ago.
Why didn't you just go get it? A stash of light eco could fund this little pirate band of yours for 100 years.
Phoenix is vague about why they hadn't tried to get the light eco they found, but the decision is made all the same that they'll have to go and try to get it now, and so Jak plots a course to the abandoned research rig. Now that we're able to helm the Phantom Blade, we can come and go between the various small hubs of the game at our own pace, which is another really cool little mechanic of this game. Since there's a handful of different hubs that house the various levels across the game's progression, being able to fly to them with our big pirate ship is an awesome feature. Once we get to the research facility, Kira goes out ahead of us to see what she can find and calls it back in.
Fascinating. There's an excavation here that goes deep into the planet. I wonder if... Ah!
Kira! We have to go save her.
With that, Jak powers through a series of ships and punches it straight into the research facility. This is quite possibly the best level in the game, and if you're a fan of platforming and puzzle games, then you'll probably love this one. After getting into the building and doing some old school Jak and Daxter platforming, which is great, Jak is given another new eco power, and this one is both the most unique and coolest power in the game. This power grants Jak the ability to teleport and switch his position with different precursor statues after locking onto them. This single ability raised the game an entire digit for me because of how cleverly the puzzles around it were implemented. Seriously, I cannot emphasize enough how much better the game is just from this one level and how much fun it is to solve these teleport puzzles. Anyway, back to the story, Jak finds a bunch of test tubes loaded with these massively experimented on beasts inside of them that break out and attack him. Shortly after taking them down, Jak stumbles into a familiar looking room that begins to illuminate exactly what our heroes are dealing with here.
Injection cycle complete.
Someone's been experimenting with dark eco. Whoever did this should be destroyed.
Man, that was almost just like the Jak we knew, but the delivery just isn't doing it for me. I don't know, something about this doesn't feel quite like how the real Jak would react. So Jak and Dax fight their way through the rest of the facility and find Kira in the control room waiting for them, and she's totally fine. I actually have no idea what that radio call out was about earlier in the game. I guess maybe it was meant for something they ended up cutting? I'm not sure why she was screaming for help and then when we find her, she's fine. Either way, she is fine. That is until a horde of those dark eco mutants come through a door and attack us, which Jak fends off with ease while Kira finishes extracting the light eco she needs from the terminal so they can wrap up and get out of there. Of course, on their way out, Daxter gets distracted by what he thinks is a vending machine that he starts messing with to try and get a snack before things suddenly go awry.
Wait up! What the? Hey! Don't mess with the fur! Okay, that's it! Who wants some?
And Daxter's back in his dark form as we get the second of the game's 3 Dark Daxter sections. Again, I'll talk about these later, so all you need to know is that he fights his way through a series of areas and finds an elevator to take him back up to where Jak and Kira are.
Ah, I'm back! I'm me again! Thank the precursors! Or curse them! Their stupid stuff keeps doing this to me!
Daxter! You okay, buddy?
Glad you asked. This whole being tall, dark, and gruesome is a lot harder than I thought. Look at my claws! I need a manicure. And the hangnails, not to mention the headache. I think I went through the wall noggin first. Hey, are you listening to me?
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure, Dax.
Dude, this Jak sucks. He lost his best friend in a tunnel, and it doesn't even seem like he was looking for him, but rather just stumbled across him like it was a pleasant surprise, and then immediately started ignoring him the second he started talking. There's just no way the real Jak would treat Daxter this way. These two are lifelong friends. He would at least ask where he was and what happened, but he's too distracted by the cool new jet plane he found in the hangar, which, to be fair, is the best vehicle in the game. It's super weak compared to the other vehicles, but I just did a few of the bonus challenges to earn some points and upgraded it to close the gap a bit so I could fly it exclusively, because look at how fast it is. Love this thing. Docking with the Phantom Blade, they all gather on the bridge to charge the Ecoseeker with the light eco they found in the facility.
Now what? It's pointing to an area near Fardrop, and another target the other way. The Seeker is missing 3 parts. Perhaps it's trying to repair itself.
Yeah, and kangaroo rabbits are gonna fly out of my fuzzy butt. The thing is broken!
No. I think it's pointing to its missing pieces.
Which direction do we go first?
Let's head to the point near Fardrop. Prepare
What
the...
about the other direction?
Are you questioning my authority?
No, I'm questioning your judgment. The second location is closer.
I will defer to Kira. Whatever your heart desires, my sweet.
Jak, what do you want to do?
Finally, she backs Jak up instead of playing neutral between the two. So, the Ecoseeker needs 3 additional pieces to function, which will require our ragtag band of pirate heroes to hit up 3 locations in order to acquire those missing parts. Now, obviously I chose to go for Jak's suggested location instead of Phoenix's, which sees the duo back on land as Jak finds another precursor statue giving him the Eco Shield power, which can be used to fend off attacks and roll across water and dark eco rivers. Arriving at another facility, the old man seems to know the code to let them in the gate that they otherwise wouldn't be able to bypass, which leads Jak through a labyrinth of more facility hallways and mutants to fight through. But it's fine, because the game is genuinely fun. Despite having the worst combat of the series, it's still a genuinely high-quality experience to play through. At the end of this level, the team does secure one of the parts they need, along with a big reveal as the old man discovers something about himself. It turns out that he's a dark eco-sage, and it was him that built the facility and ran the experiments to create the dark eco-mutants, and then when he realized he'd gone too far and made a mistake, he fled the facility and tried to build a robot army to overthrow the building and destroy what he had created.
Who did you do this for? He built them for me. For the Auropans. You son...
Jak, wait! Hear him out!
The blame is mine. I was once the commander of the Auropan Air Forces. I was put in charge of a secret weapons program to make a new class of warrior. You see, we were fighting a terrible war, and we were losing.
And so you put people in the chair.
No, I refused. When I realized what they were doing, I tried to stop the program, but Skyheed wouldn't hear of it. So, I took the only option before me. I kidnapped the program's chief scientist.
So Phoenix kidnapped the scientist, and in the scuffle to abduct him, the old man took a blow to the head that knocked his memory out of whack and gave him amnesia, and then Phoenix dropped him off on the island to hide him away from the Auropans. Speaking of the Auropans, Phoenix claims that every one of the Auropan citizens is now infected with Dark Eco, and that it's all part of Skyheed's grand plan, which is why he's an outlaw now to fight back against the Auropans.
I swore to destroy them. Destroy what you are!
Wait, Phoenix, please! Jak isn't a monster!
I've seen what he is.
No, Phoenix! If you care for me at all, you'll spare him. See, I need Jak. More than anything in the world.
You can't run from what you did, Phoenix. And neither can I. You can't kill your way to forgiveness. But together, we can repair the damage we've done.
How?
We've got the secret weapon. A warrior that proves Dark Eco can be controlled, or at least managed.
Hey, what about me?
No, you're a certified crazy monster. But we may be able to help you fix that someday as well, son.
Jak, will you join me to stop the Auropans?
Let's go put the Auropans out of business.
Well, that's all nice and interesting, except for the fact that Jak can't control his Dark Eco powers in this game, because he can't even transform. I really thought they were building up to this cool finale where he gets his dark powers back, and it's this incredible cathartic fight after being reminded about how he's a dark monster but can't transform. But I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it for you now, because that doesn't happen. In the meantime, Jak and Dax have to head back to the pirate alcove called Fardrop, where they're supposed to meet with a contact about acquiring the second of the 3 pieces they need to repair the Ecoseeker. The person currently in possession of the part we need is this pirate woman, who Jak tries to convince to part with it.
I think you have something I need.
Oh, not much for small talk, are you?
Okay, listen, I don't have time, and I'm not in the mood. How much for the sphere?
Cash don't interest me. Beat me, and it's yours.
And if I lose?
When you lose, I get the orange runt as a fur coat.
That's right, he's gonna kick your ass! Wait a minute!
Deal.
No, not deal!
Done!
Jak really needs to stop wagering Daxter's life on every other bet he gets offered. Confidence is one thing, but come on. This ended up being the second most challenging combat encounter in the game, actually. Like back to Jak 2 levels of difficulty spike. But of course, with some patience and our handy eco powers, Jak overcomes the roguish femme fatale and gets the party he was promised. Outside of the tavern, on the way back to the Phantom Blade, a bunch of the locals talk about Kira being Phoenix's new girl in an attempt to hammer in that love triangle subplot, which I'd call forced at best.
That Captain Phoenix is the best. I hear he has a new girl.
The third and final part we need is located in a place beyond the brink called Sector 0, and upon arriving, we see it's a literal ship graveyard scattered around an enormous green eco maelstrom swirling around chaotically. There's no way around it, we've got to fly straight into the heart of the vortex. Again, the scale of what we're doing here is incredible. The music, the visuals, the set piece itself, it's so grand and epic. I simply will not allow the awesome work of the team to pull this off to go unrecognized. Unfortunately though, the second we begin flying through the vortex, we end up having to fight our way through a horde of ghost pirates. You heard that right, ghost pirates.
Ghost pirates.
This is stupid, doesn't matter to the game, and doesn't come up again. Once again, the game handicaps its own potential with its stupid writing and insistence on being a pirate game. They're even green and ghastly, like we're fighting the Flying Dutchman from SpongeBob. But like, flying through the center of a giant green eco maelstrom in the sky is really cool, so it's kind of annoying that they threw a bunch of ghosts at you that never come up again. At the end of the tunnel is the part our heroes need, and so they grab that and bail out of there. We're coming up on the end of the game now, if you couldn't tell, and the finale of it all. The European capital ship called the Behemoth that we saved earlier comes flying in to destroy us before we can find the eco core. This one battle is kind of dragged out across multiple sequences, and it's actually super cool. It's like genuinely such a fantastic climax to a game. First, we have to fly around the ship and take down its defensive turrets to weaken it and keep our ship, the Phantom Blade, safe. Once that's done and the Behemoth's long-range weapons are damaged, the thing opts to fly right alongside the starboard side of the Phantom Blade, which leads to a spectacular pirate ship battle where we fight off boarding parties and use different types of cannons to damage the Behemoth's hull and take out a series of attack ships. Dude, I know this game is kind of panned by the fanbase, and with good reason, but when it gets good, it really does get really good. Once the ship is defended and we scare the capital ship away, we rejoin Kira and Phoenix on the bridge. Finally, they can assemble the Ecoseeker and see where it takes them, which turns out to be the research facility we've been to a few times already. Turns out the eco core itself has been hidden beneath the facility all along, and they never knew because they couldn't manage to penetrate the surface below the rig. Deciding it must have been built on top of an ancient precursor building, the team heads back and takes an elevator deeper into the facility.
Jak, I need a little eco energy for this control board. That woke something up. The eco core.
They've managed to find the core, but it's still very unstable, and Kira said the prism in the center of the core that splits the eco energy into its colors isn't working correctly, although after some working she manages to begin correcting it. But they're interrupted in the process.
Clout, good show, man. You captured Skyheed.
Just some old-fashioned parlor work. A little muscle, and something that talks louder than words.
Yes, something much more persuasive. There are many more where that came from, Clout.
Like I said, I'm old-fashioned. And when a captain's gotta go, he's gotta go.
Phoenix is very unhappy about his right-hand man betraying him as he and Skyheed exchange some insults and accusations before the game delivers us some more of its lackluster dialogue and writing.
Kill them! But leave the monster to me. I want Jak steady.
You're the monster, Skyheed.
In every war, there are worthwhile casualties. Join us, Jak. Accept your fate, as I have. This is the future.
Never!
Pity, Jak. You could have finally realized your true potential. Kill them all.
Leave the monster to me. No, you're the real monster. Join us. I'll never join you. What happened to this series? I want to make it clear that I have absolutely nothing against this style of generic, self-serious writing, by the way. In an adventure game like this is trying to be, it fits right snugly like it's meant to be there. In the grander scheme of the franchise, however, this is the kind of writing Jak 2, 3, and X seem to stand against by being darker and more vicious, with humor kind of interjected and cut into there when appropriate. I'll get more into that later. Right now, our team has regrouped on the Phantom Blade to analyze their chances, when Phoenix announced that the Auropans are now sieging Far Drop, and so we have to head back there again to take on the Behemoth once more before landing and fighting off a horde of dark eco monsters assaulting the city. I like it as a kind of penultimate action platformer level, although like I said earlier, the camera is particularly frustrating on the Far Drop base levels for some reason, so it's a little wonky to get through. With Far Drop trying to rebuild after being desolated, our heroes regroup to formulate a plan for making one final push against the Auropans. Apparently, there's a warp gate they can use to let them into the city of Auropa, and an unknown source has just sent them the code they need to access it.
Looks like our secret admirer just sent us the code.
Ah! With that code, you can drop right on Skyheed's back door before his scanners can say incoming.
Sounds like a trap.
Well, it's all we've got. To all freedom fighters, converge on the Auropan barracks.
So with that, Jak, Dax, and Kira lead the way as the last of our pirate crew enters the warp gate so they can begin their own assault, but not before Daxter gets separated.
Don't eat me! Don't eat me! Don't eat me!
I'll eat you!
Hey Dax, putting on some pounds.
Welcome to the other end of the food chain. I broke this one. Still hungry? Time to find some more meat stacks.
Dax, chew before you swallow.
That just doesn't feel like a Jak reaction to me. Like, that's not the same character from the other games. I'm just not buying it. We get another Dark Daxter section to play through though, and when we get back to the warp gate, Jak and Kira are waiting for him as Jak is making up his mind to go back and find him.
I've got to go back for him. I've just got to.
He was like huge. Daxter, or whatever he is, can take care of himself.
Hurry! Cut it off! Cut it off!
Ha! That'll keep the rest of them out. What the heck happened to you?
Oh, nothing. I just turned into a huge slobbering dark eco monster who has even worse BO than I do! How's your day been?
Great! Now I've got 2 monsters to worry about.
Comes with the territory.
Then the final land battle begins, and again, the scale and visual design is great. Literally so cool. The city of Auropa we were in before is now in flames, as the Auropan citizens have all transformed into dark eco monsters for us to take on while the pirates are bombing the place and taking revenge for the desolation of Far Drop. We get some platforming, some combat, and plenty of chances to play with our eco powers, so it's a really great climax for the land levels in every way. Until we get to this boss that is by far the single hardest enemy in the game. Seriously, this thing is harder than pretty much any enemy I've had to fight across the entire series, and he's not even a named character or anything. It's literally just a pre-boss battle that happens directly before the true boss battle, which ends up being way easier than this one. It's twice as fast and strong as you, and took some serious patience to overcome. After finishing the thing off though, Jak ascends up to face down Skyheed as the maniacal leader absorbs a bunch of dark eco to transform himself. He then gives a speech about his intentions to rule the world and turn everywhere into his own Auropan empire.
Enough! This has gone too far.
You fool! You're only just beginning to see what Eco can do to us!
Ruskin, you were the one sending us messages.
I'm the spy.
Don't make me kill you, my Duke. There is still a chance to undo this madness. Yes, I helped them. I cannot live with what you have done to us all.
Then you will die with them! Now, it is your turn!
Do something, Jak!
Time to tame the beast.
Can you imagine how much cooler this sequence would have been if Jak had transformed into Dark Jak here? They had such potential for one of the coolest one-on-one Jak Unleashed hand-throwing boss battles of the series, and they didn't go for it. Instead, we have a more standard fair boss battle where we avoid his attacks and then hit these missiles to knock them back into him. A lot of some of the boss and mini-boss battles from Jak 2 and 3 were like this, so I guess it makes sense. It's not over after beating him though, and before he loses, Skyheed jumps into his ship with Jak chasing after him.
Oh, great. Smart move, Jak.
This game wants to be Uncharted so bad.
Hey, hero. Need a ride? Phoenix is getting good at catching jumpers.
What happens next is one final pursuit as Jak hops into his fighter and chases Skyheed through a series of precursor tunnels, and it's appropriately climactic actually, but it doesn't take long for Skyheed to escape, and Jak has to regroup at the Phantom Blade for one really truly final assault for real this time. They kind of spread this last battle out over multiple climaxes, but I'm not complaining since it is pretty cool actually. The Phantom Blade chases Skyheed and the Behemoth back to the research facility where we face the capital ship down in one final sky battle, and it's really well done. This skirmish took me well over 20 minutes to complete. Skyheed has his ship siphoning all of the power out of the Eco Core so he can use it for his plan to create an army of mutants to take over the world, and the time is ticking down to stop him before it's too late. But the fact is that there's simply far too many of these Auropan fighters for Jak to handle, and their ship is eventually blown up as Jak and Dax have to abandon ship.
Looks like you boys need a lift.
Phoenix, what are you doing?
Sorry, old boy, but we can't have Skyheed double-dipping from the Eco Core all day. Besides, if I don't show you up, who will?
Phoenix! No!
There's no other way, my dear. I started this, and I damn well can finish it. Jak, it was great flying with you. Keep Kira safe, will you? Now, Skyheed, or whatever you've become, see if you can take a blade to the heart. Ha ha ha!
Phoenix!
Well, pluck my whiskers. He did it! The Behemoth is damaged!
Which means it can be destroyed. Here I come, Skyheed. This is for Phoenix.
And so ends the story of the pirate Captain Phoenix and his ship, the Phantom Blade. He was a cool enough character, and I like that they relegated his role to this game alone and let his sacrifice feel justified. Using a heavily modified version of our first plane outfitted with a super laser, Jak takes out the rest of Skyheed's forces and finally destroys both him and his gargantuan capital ship for good. We watch as the ship splits into pieces and all of the dark eco he stole is restored to the Eco Core, which brings it back to balance once more.
Everything's in the green. The prism is aligned and the core is channeling energy. Soon eco-vents around the world will start flowing again. If only Phoenix could have seen this.
He was a good man.
He certainly was.
Phoenix sacrificed himself for us all.
My readings show a huge reduction in storm and quake activity in all directions. And the instability is dropping fast. Whoa!
Kira, you just
channeled eco-energy.
You may be turning into an eco-sage, my girl.
Big deal. When I get really riled up, I can turn into a massive 15-foot monster.
It's more like 8 feet, but I like you short and orange, pal.
And so do the ladies.
Castaway, what is your name?
People called me Tim.
Alright, fine, have your Holy Grail reference. With the Eco Core back in sync, the safety of the world restored, and Kira's Eco-Sage powers now in flux, she hints at another area far beyond the brink that has yet to be explored as the team reconciles to have yet another adventure and travel beyond the brink to see what else lies in store for them.
All in favor of going on a new adventure? Raise your hand.
2 to 1. Done. You lose.
Whoa! Whoa! You're lucky I didn't go monster on you just then. That really got me upset. Okay, fine. We'll go on another adventure.
And that's the story of Jak and Daxter, The Lost Frontier. It's fine, it's workable, but it's also way too safe and lacks any real bite. This protagonist is not Jak. This is generic hero template. This is insert personality later. This is pre-built video game protag. This is the exact kind of character that Jak intentionally wasn't. Jak was the hero the world needed, but not the one it wanted. Jak was tortured and didn't flinch at killing people, unbothered, jaded, angry, heroic by action, but not by words or appearance. This is just generic hero guy. He's relaxed, confident, charming, funny, heroic, but he's not Jak. It's not just the voice acting either, although that definitely makes the problem more obvious. The problem isn't even that they tried to take the character in a new direction, or that they tried to mature him into a more matured version of himself. Honestly, the problem is that they both didn't do that, and just stripped him of his pre-existing character traits. I actually kind of felt like The Lost Frontier wanted to be a sequel to the Precursor legacy, but not Jak 2, 3, and X. I don't know for a fact that this was intentional or not, although I suspect it was. There's a few reasons I suspect this to be the case, such as the fact that the Precursor legacy was the highest selling entry of the franchise at over 4 million copies sold. That's roughly double the sales of Jak 2, which was the second best-selling of the series, and with a peak that high, I'd imagine they were trying to get closer to it. There's also the fact that the game is the only other entry out of the series of 6 games to use the Jak and Daxter moniker. Also, the removal of the game's edgy tone and the return of colored eco powers makes it feel way more like the first game than the other games did. Honestly, they probably should have just ported the precursor legacy to PSP and called it a day if that was the goal, but what do I know? I can see why this is the least liked game in the series, and even with how different Jak 2 was from the first game, this one still somehow manages to feel the least like the other games in the series. It's not the best Jak and Daxter game, and is arguably the worst, actually, which is why I've probably heard so many negative things about it up to this point. Though I think I should clarify something. This game is not bad. In fact, I'd say it's actually really good. There's way more good here than bad, and most of the bad can be relegated primarily to its story. Although, from what I understand, most of the criticisms of this game on release were directed to the gameplay, so let's take a quick look at that.
Wow! Serious piratage!
Alright, here's the thing. I'm really not going to have very much to say about the gameplay of this one because it's honestly very similar to all of the other ones. The hitting, the shooting, the jumping, and the swinging. We've seen all of this before. So I'll really just be touching on what's new here, like the upgrades. One of the coolest new features of The Lost Frontier is the introduction of the new upgrade system. As we collect Dark Eco, we can take it to Kira and have her convert it to a colored Eco that we then use to upgrade different abilities, like health, attacks, Eco power usage, and other things of that nature. Sometimes upgrades in games like this feel so minimal in the way they affect the mechanics, like you're just wasting your time, but in this game you can actually feel it. Like, you can tell that your character is getting a bit stronger and more resilient after every upgrade. So using the upgrade system is a genuinely fulfilling experience to interact with this game, which is a major plus. And another massive positive about this game is, of course, the planes.
Slow down, Jak! We just left some of my short fur behind!
There's 6 total planes that Jak can acquire over the course of the game, 2 of which are kind of hidden. The first airship that we start with is the Hellcat, a heavily modified Crimson Guard Zoomer turned into a vehicle capable of taking Jak and Kira to the brink in search of a solution to the eco problem. The Sky Raider is just a version of the same airships that the Sky Pirates use, so if that's your style, you can main this one if you want. I didn't really like it though. The Bomber is a bulkier, slower plane that does exactly what you think it does: bombs. Being a heavier artillery kind of airship, this one is better suited for a few specific missions, but can be customized to your liking if you want. The Interceptor is my favorite ship in the game because it goes real fast. This one is an Auropa ship intended for extreme flying maneuvers, which is what I used it for, of course, and I found this one made the flying gameplay so much more enjoyable than it otherwise would be. The Gunship is a bonus plane that can be purchased by a pirate on board the Phantom Blade for scrap, but is totally optional. It's pretty cool looking and is kind of like a tank variation of an airship. This last one is a hidden plane that can only be attained on a New Game Plus playthrough, i.e. Hero Mode. Tim, the Dark Eco Sage, will inform Jak after he stows away with him and say if Jak goes back to his island and finds the 5 parts of the plane hidden around the place that he'll assemble the plane for him. This plane is the Jaguar, and it replaces the Hellcat in the hangar if you go and retrieve the parts. Tim had built it to escape the island, but didn't finish, so if we get the parts he needs, then we get the plane. And of course, all of these planes can be deeply customized via this menu where we can change out what guns we want to use, primary and secondary, and even input different mods to accommodate our playstyle by making our plane stronger or faster, or a myriad of other interesting things. For a game intended to be played on the PSP, this is insanely cool. I didn't own a PSP growing up, so I didn't play games like this, but if I had, then I can assure you I'd have probably poured some hours into this game getting the scrap I needed to deck out my planes and try out the different weapons and mods. It's super cool, and flying around the different aerial hub worlds, shooting at planes, and completing challenges is easily one of the most redeeming aspects of this game. It's just fun, and it's also super unique to the series at that. We've had plenty of vehicle sequences across pretty much every game, but Jak X introduced vehicle customization, so getting to customize our own plane and then flying it around freely in the open hub worlds is a different kind of fun, I'll say that much. The only way they could have made this better is if they'd have given us some kind of visual personalization on the airships, but the way they look is the way they look, and that's fine with me. Now, we still have to talk about those controversial Dark Daxter sequences. Other than the camera angles, these Dark Daxter sections were the primary recipient of the game's criticisms. Built out like a kind of minigame, the player is put in control of a dark eco transformation of Daxter where he navigates these linear levels, takes down various monsters and enemies, solves simple little puzzles, and tornadoes around the environment, recharging his power by smashing into eco crystals. The reason these sections weren't received super well, from what I can tell, is that a lot of people just found them to be out of place and unnecessary to the game. If you're curious as to what I think of them though, I actually really liked them. Yes, they're kind of out of place and unnecessary, but they're not by any means frustrating or anything. In fact, I had fun with them the 3 times they popped up across the game's runtime, which is another thing. You only have to play 3 of these, and each one can be completed in well under 10 minutes. Realistically, we're talking about 20 to 25-ish minutes of playtime being spent in these minigames across the Lost Frontier's nearly 8 hours. I also thought they were a creative and fun way to add something a little bit different to the standard action platformer gameplay of the typical Jak and Daxter formula. This isn't the only thing Daxter does in this game either, as a new mechanic lets Jak fire Daxter onto enemy planes to initiate a button-pressing minigame where Daxter rips apart different parts of the airship, collects scrap, and in some cases, even brings back special airship mods. When this was introduced, I didn't expect I'd ever use it, really, but I actually did end up doing it more than I thought I would because it was just kind of fun and broke up the gameplay loop a little bit while sometimes rewarding me with new parts for my planes. In my opinion, I loved these new Daxter sequences and think they were great additions to the game that make it feel unique and offer fun little charming experiences that you can only get from this game.
Hey, we're the Demolition Duo, remember?
As for the score, this game easily features the biggest, most bombastic, movie-like orchestral soundtrack of the entire series, and the reason for this is that they hired someone with tons of experience working with major Hollywood composers to handle it. The soundtrack this time around was composed by James Dooley, who is credited as having contributed his work to help some huge named composers orchestrate the scores for some massive films. Some of the films he helped work on include Gladiator, Pirates of the Caribbean 1 and 3, Black Hawk Down, and more. He also worked on multiple video games as well, such as Infamous, Epic Mickey, and even Dead to Rights 2. It definitely leans really heavily into the whole Sky Pirate vibe overall, but I gotta say that the quality and creativity of the score was very noticeable and in a good way. It was overall just a stellar soundtrack, and I'm shocked that more video game studios aren't hunting this guy down to try and get him working on their game. It's not just the music either, the whole game is super solid through and through. I know I've been relatively critical of this game overall, but I feel I've been pretty transparent that all of my major criticisms center around the writing. It is still a really good game, it's just arguably the worst of its own series. Which, I mean, let's be fair, its series siblings are some of the best out there. So yeah, it's a little bit of a black sheep and falls short of the heights that came before it, but the flying, the exploration, the eco powers, and the puzzles are all still fantastic. Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier did see the series end on a low note compared to the other games in the franchise, but compared to a lot of other games and sequels out there, this one is still really good. But one thing I just can't get over though is why the story is so lackluster and generic. I mean, supposedly it was Naughty Dog who drafted the concepts and worked on the early builds of the game before turning it over to High Impact, so why is it so weirdly not good? It mishandles its characters, its plot is bland and boring, its villains are super one-note, and at its best, this game only manages to skim the surface of excitement due to the incredible art direction, music, gameplay, and scale. But the narrative and characters are the worst they've ever been in the series, and I just can't... Oh.